So let's just get right to it. Could the unsealed documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein actually be a political lifeline for Donald Trump? It's a huge question, and the answer is, well, it's way more complicated than a simple yes or no. To really get it, we've got to look way past the headlines.
Right now, the whole conversation seems to be split into two predictable camps, right? On one side, you have his supporters who are absolutely convinced these files are going to expose all his enemies and finally completely clear his name. And on the other side, you've got critics who are just as certain that this is it, the final nail in his political coffin. But what if both sides are completely missing the point? What if the real impact of this whole saga has nothing to do with saving or finishing one person? What if it's actually revealing something much more unsettling about where we are right now politically?
Okay, so let's be super clear about what we're doing here. This is not about getting into the weeds of allegations or rumors or naming names. Nope. We're going to look at the mechanics of this whole thing. We're talking about power, about timing, and about how a scandal like this really operates in today's political world.
And that brings us to the real question we need to tackle. Let's just forget about saving or destroying him for a minute. Can this story fundamentally change Donald Trump's political trajectory in any real, meaningful way? To figure that out, first we have to understand the theory of how this could have helped him. And then we have to understand why that old playbook he used so well is now completely, totally broken. Now, the argument for how this helps Trump is actually pretty straightforward. It's a strategy he's used before. Step 1, a bunch of powerful people, maybe some big-name elites, get implicated. Step 2, the system, with all its redactions and delays, looks like it's trying to protect them. And then step 3, Trump, the ultimate outsider, gets to point at the whole mess and say, "See, I told you the whole system was corrupt. It was them, not me."
And you know what? That playbook was incredibly effective when he was the outsider storming the gates. I mean, it won him an election. But that was then. The game has totally changed.
And here's the most crucial part. The nature of the Epstein story itself has fundamentally changed. The whole conversation has moved on from simple questions of who's guilty and who's innocent. It's become about the broken system itself. It's really about the erosion of trust in our institutions. And this, right here, is where the real danger of a scandal that never ever gets resolved truly lies. I mean, just think about how this story has played out. We've heard about missing documents, we see these files with huge black lines censoring everything, information comes out in little drips and drabs over long periods. What that creates is this feeling that there's just no closure. For the average person, this doesn't look like justice. It looks like a system protecting itself.
This perfectly illustrates a key idea. See, unresolved scandals don't go off like a bombshell. They don't create one big clarifying moment. No, they erode. They act like a slow, steady acid, just eating away at public trust in every single institution they touch. And because of that erosion, the central question floating in the minds of a lot of voters has totally shifted. It's not, is Trump better than those other people involved anymore? The new question, the one that's really simmering under the surface, is why does nothing ever feel clean anymore? And when voters feel like the entire system is broken, they don't reward the person in charge, they blame them. This all leads us to the definitive answer about what this scandal really means for Trump's political future. It's not a weapon for him. It's a slow political bleed. Let's just play out the absolute best-case scenario for him. Let's say no new documents implicate him and a bunch of other people look way worse. What does that actually achieve for him politically? It might fire up his base and create a lot of noise, for sure. But does it raise his overall approval rating? No. Does it win over independents? Not a chance. Does it do anything to help with economic pressures? Of course not. And most importantly, does it restore any trust in the system he's now supposed to be leading? Absolutely not.
So, let's go all the way back to our original question. With all this in mind, could the Epstein files actually save Donald Trump?
The answer is no. And here's exactly why it fails as a political strategy. Look, the dirt files can be used to distract from other problems, they can be used to deflect blame, and they can certainly inflame his base. But there are two crucial things they cannot do. They cannot rebuild the trust that has been eaten away, and, maybe most importantly, they cannot bring the story to an end.
This is exactly what we mean by a slow bleed. It's his political state where a leader gets trapped inside this endless narrative of corrupt institutions and partial truths. Instead of being a weapon he can use against others, it just becomes this condition that relentlessly drains away his own political momentum.
So the files don't save him, and they don't destroy him. They simply trap him in this narrative of decay. And that leaves us all with a final, and maybe a much more important question. When a scandal never truly ends, who ultimately pays the price for that slow, relentless bleed of our collective trust?